in the past year. And so I'm now taking, I always took several workshops and creative sessions. Now I'm just flooded with that. Um, so, and that way, I mean, everything has gone flooded with that, um, gone on a new path. But yes, uh, we're still there.
Okay, just starting off, how have you taken to nature writing as a genre? How did it kind of occur to you? How did you really got interested into this space, and how did you just you know start with it?
I'm often asked this, Shashwat, and in fact, firstly, I mean, thank you so much for inviting me here to talk about the nature writing part, and of course, thank you to everybody who's here to listen to me talk about the nature writing for children, um, uh, because that is a very big chunk of my work. And as I often tell editors, they ask me this question for interviews or whatever. I tell them that I just write about something that is close to my heart. I write about something that is part of my upbringing, part of my life. In fact, maybe Shekhar could also. He's been following. We've been colleagues and partners in crime for a long time. So maybe Shekhar could also talk about why he thinks I write about that.
I really don't know, but it must be something which in the inner call, something which strikes, which means something comes from inside. Like I think that is the most important thing. For and I'm not necessarily do the regular. It's not my bread and butter doing illustrations regularly. So I think that that writing, what I feel that it's like it's not something which is forcefully done. There is a genuinity into that thing. It's kind of a, it just comes out like a music. It's kind of so maybe that is why I these two books what I worked with her, it's kind of created a duet performance. Maybe later we can
Yes.
touch upon
So,
that. Yeah.
so Shekhar, and now that you're talking about it, what is the importance you would give to visual and artwork to bring these concepts alive? What is the important ethos behind these things?
I think, I mean, my earlier experience of just to try out into the field of illustrations, much earlier days, experience was, it is like whenever you get an empty space, you just fill it up. And this was never been the case in these two books. What I kind of really like, I mean, if she was the vocalist, maybe I was the guitarist, kind of thing. So that is what I think played a major role. And somehow I realized over the period of time that this kind of work happens not as a full time work, which I mean, it's anyway something you chose to do. If it strikes, it's like it's not easy, because both the book, I know that, I mean, and the backstory of the Nepo, if I talk about it, happened like, yes, I know Benita since economic time days, but it's like with the journey of life, it's like we get drifted away, and then I think I met her after a long time. It's like in certain illustration conference in Delhi. I think it was Jumpstart. Yeah, that German book office thing, and I took time to suddenly recall, and then she talked about that book. After some time, I remember that Nepo, that book. That she sent me the writings, and I immediately feel that I can see the picture. So and then for me it was I always feel comfortable with drawing than words. So from the moment or the words which are giving me the images, it's like so. So I just immediately sent her some explorations. She liked it. She said, "Yes, fine, let's try it out." And there is no scheme as such that it has to be published, but so it kind of worked that way. So maybe and I think there is enough honesty from both sides into this work, and later Tiger also happened again after a couple of gaps. So and
Yes, so we'll be going through those, talking about those wonderful works that you've done.
hmm.
Benita, just to, if you can give us some perspective, how did One Lonely Tiger come into being? The story, the genesis of these two books specifically.
Both the stories, Nepo, that we are discussing today, they're just two of my environmental writings or nature writings. So they happened in very, very different ways. Since you mentioned that we will be sort of discussing this with a lot of young writers, that is why I'm bringing up the two different angles that we approach the stories from. One Lonely Tiger happened. I was very privileged to be taking a low flight, a helicopter flight over tiger territory one year. Now, I had a very different idea of what tiger terrain would look like or what a top shot looks like. See, the perspective changed completely when you're taking a top shot look at a forest. And it struck me that is this forest thick enough? Is it enough of a forest to allow tigers, hiding space, stalking space? So that just got me thinking. And then I thought of, then you keep reading about uh, tigers and the conflict, the man and other animal conflict, not just tiger. Here we've taken a tiger, but it could be any other animal. I do an article on endangered species for Terra Green magazine. I mean, their children section. And researching for that, I've realized there are so many species that we don't even realize have are almost on the verge of extinction. There is this beautiful tarantula spider. I mean, it's just that when you start researching, you come across these names, and then you go deeper into the. So that is how the thought that are all our forests or all our different terrains, are they enough for every species that's supposed to inhabit them? That's how this tiger thing happened. And then it turned into the format is of course very distinctive in that it became a counting book, sort of. It's a pseudo or a four counting book, because it started with, I kept saying to myself, one lonely tiger, one lonely tiger. And then then it was, before I could say Jack Higgins, we went from one to two to three, and then it became a counting book kind of thing.
Yes, indeed. The jackals that are there, the four jackals that are there, and
Yes,
yes,
yes.
you see that progression. So while we're talking about it, let's do one thing. Let's take up the visuals on board, and I'd love to have your perspective. And now that Shekhar is also here, how did those works come alive? I'll just put it on board for you. Yes. Just a minute. Just a minute.
I'm just so delighted because for me, the illustrator is so important. I'm so glad Shekhar is here.
Yes. So, Benita and Shekhar, just take us through this book. This whole, I see very vivid imagery, very different type of imagery that was used out here. You see the motion. There's some sort of a fog that is, right across the book. So, where is this tiger? Is it on the buns? Where have you kind of put it in your,
No particular location. As I said, here the tiger is representative of every other species except for humanity. So, I mean, humankind. So, uh, I have not thought of any particular place, and I don't know if Shekhar had anything like that in mind, but it could be anywhere on the fringes. See, there is this constant interaction. If you can see, there is some human-made structure, this estate real. So it's always on the fringes of human civilization.
Yes. And yes, Shekhar, please. I would love to
Yeah,
add.
yeah. I just want to add here, and that is something over the period of time. Looking back, being with the the visual narrative. Like as I told, like that from very early days, I only enjoy drawings which are not very definitive. Like it's mostly say that okay, we can say cartoon or caricature or something which is abstract. It's like drawing itself is an abstraction from real. It's a break from the realism, or reality rather. So that's why I feel that this tiger is not really belong to any particular local. It is something I feel that perhaps sometimes I feel maybe they were there before us. you know so we invaded them, something like that. So because it's of late I'm working with art scientists and all, and I'm understanding the importance of trilobites and all. So often we forget that it's a same landmass, like same biomass. It's like and we are how precariously living in the environment today. So something. So we felt that I just put the tiger into as if you know large chunk of the book is the world of coexistence, you know, and suddenly it's gone haywire, something on that line. So that's why you see it's foggy, it's full of forest and green, and there are mountains, there are, so it's like taking my half-baked informations into together, So I try to create a collage.
Okay, tell me, typically the tigers that are famous is one you have. There are two ends of the spectrum. One is the menacing Sher Khan that we know from the Jungle Books, and on the other hand, we have someone like Tiger from uh, Tiger, or we can have Calvin and Hobbes out there. So we have the cute ones out here, and you have the scary. So where does one lonely tiger, the characterization of the tiger, fall in?
I think I don't know, Benita, do you want to say something on that line? As
I really never discussed this with Shekhar.
yeah,
He sent me the roughs. It was his interpretation, and Shashwat, I love to honor the illustrator's interpretation rather than impose my interpretation on him or her. So this was Shekhar's interpretation of the tiger, and it just gelled with what I had in mind. There is this lonely. See, there is a difference between being alone and being lonely, and he got that so brilliantly. This tiger is alone but also lonely, and that can, play havoc with your, your the way you eat or your mental happiness. There is that melancholy about this tiger. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't look one of those happy, rompy, cartoonesque tigers at all. But I would say I would not place him in any kind of a vertical. He is himself. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
so Shikhar.
Historically speaking, I'm glad. That's another reason that this is very important to have mutual respect. As I said, it's like a duet performance.
Yeah.
It never works that if I say no, that this is what I want to do, or the like where word and image is interplaying. So that is definitely gave me the freedom. And I always try to, whenever I try to do some work, I try to uh, uh, put myself in the sense I want to see a kind of a cameo into the scenario, into the context, into the situation. So I did some immediate impressions when
Yes.
I remember 2010 you sent me the text.
Absolutely right.
And then
Absolutely
I
right.
did some, I just read through and then I did some couple of scribble of the tiger as if it's kind of me in my early skinny days with a bad stomach of the polluted groundwater, and so I personify the tiger. It's like, I mean, maybe I put little bit of Bengali in it, from Calcutta with bad stomach, digestion problems, and weak yet peaceful, polite, quite shy, introvert, not so kind of street smart. So it's not unlike the tiger what you see either of the image, and neither the cute tiger not the very roaring persona. So it is something, one of us who is into the crowd, something like a tramp also, you can say, maybe chaplain. So yeah.
Yeah, there is something very Chaplinesque. Yes. I remember
Yes.
discussing this with, I was then in Jalandhar and Shekhar was in Ahmedabad. See, for our two books, we don't even meet. There are no, what do you call them, video calls and chats like that. There are a few phone calls, and, we don't directly discuss the story, but we discuss the issue and, how we are both concerned about forests depleting, or issues connected to the story both times. And I I mean, I'm just, when he tells me I'm going to send you some roughs, I keep wondering, why would he send me roughs? I don't need to see roughs. I mean, I trust him enough to just go ahead and illustrate it. In fact, for What Did Nepo Do with a Sari, I don't think I even saw any roughs as such. It was, hey presto, I mean, the book was there. And I'm so happy with that.
So yeah, so let's talk about Nepo right now. Moving from One Lonely Tiger, the first collaboration, if I'm not wrong, between you two, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Book
So
collaboration. The journalistic ones happened in Economic Times
Earlier,
many,
yeah.
many decades ago. The book collaborations, yes.
okay, so just Benita, if you would just take us through that, the book about Nepo, what it stands for, what are the meanings, and then I could possibly, we can have Shekhar talking about the characterization and the sketches that were there.
So there is a bit of a mystery, which is why the header says, "What did he do with the sari?" question mark. I wouldn't be giving out too much because that would be a spoiler. But yes, Shashwat, it started. I have been traveling a lot as an army wife. I mean, wherever I could, I trotted along, and this happened. Especially, also before that, also I have gone to the villages of Bengal as part of college NSS, and stayed in a village that is about 2 or 3 hours away from Kharagpur in the interiors, seen how they live, they work. We were asked to make, to get a feel of village life, they asked us to make briquettes, that, you use as fuel out of dung. And I've made those. They asked us to draw water from a well, and I realized, oops, physics comes into it, because you pull it this way and then you get pulled in, and I almost fell into the well. Okay, so I mean, Shekhar can perhaps have a riot of a cartoon or something like that. So yes, that has helped me. If you go on the ground, if you've walked the walk, it does help you sort of empathize with what you are writing or seeing. Now, coming back to Nepo, the idea hit me, by the way. I'm very grateful to two states of India. It hit me in the fields when I was crossing the fields of Punjab. Those absolutely gorgeous fields, swaying with ripe crops or sugarcane. And I used to see certain things there which are a very important part of any farmer's life and field. I'm not going to talk too much about it, that would be the spoiler. And then one day it struck me, why are they all a certain way? Why are we, why do we not think, as they say now, don't even think out of the box, throw the box away. So when I was writing it, the idea came. Now I didn't know enough about rural Punjab, the names maybe as I do about rural Bengal, because I've lived and worked there. So the idea got transported there, and after that, it just took off.
Okay. And where did the name Nepo come from?
Oh, Napa is a very from my childhood. I don't know how many Napas I've heard, Nepo and Napa. It was so that's how it came along. Uh, it's cumulative.
Okay.
History sits inside you. You don't even know where you pick up. We're all, each of us is like a sponge, and we keep picking up these inputs. Where they surface, how they surface is a wonder of the human brain.
Okay. So, so just one thing, Shekhar, how if you can describe the characterization of Nepo, how the pajamas, the look of Nepo, how would you describe him?
Again, that, of course, what I take the advantage of studying animation and more in detail. I mean, that is what one way I'm grateful to NID's learning, being a student there, process, following the process. And there are certain courses are very unique courses, like, for example, character design. So I give more intricate detail of the characters, and also I play around with more dynamic movements of the characters, like, so it should be very raw, rough, rugged, and always dynamic. It's not static, so. And I think I discussed a little bit, and I mean, what the character description is. Nepo is someone, how our social hierarchy looked at. That's someone who works, in a lower strata, and who is a kind of a loyal chap, and again, the lesser ones, so no prefix idea. I did couple of scribbles and all, and I think it's being picked up. And yes, I mean, this is where I think I enjoy in terms of character explorations compared to the tiger, which is mostly revolve around the tiger. But here there are multiple characters. What I mean, it's draw the inspiration from people around us. So and Nepo, again, I put myself as a cameo. Again, who is like a slapstick, who is kind of not so cool, but yet as a humanist, who is kind of doing and connecting things, carrying the message,
He
that, hey,
almost seems,
yeah.
he almost seems like a character from right out of Satyajit Ray movies that we used to find, like the Gopika and Bhagapine types.
I don't deny, because we all grew up with childhood
Yes.
influence. It always comes, and everything comes. We can't deny also the influence of Tintin. We can't deny the influence of Tintin, because I think it was translated by Nirendranath Chakraborty straight away from Belgian French to Bengali. So it's like transliteration. So you see and grew up with these characters, like something which, and Ray, definitely that influence will come. I mean, with absolute deep respect to that kind of towering and the body of work. Yes, it's kind of, you are rightly said there. I don't deny that. And that is what I feel that is very important to acknowledge. It's very important to acknowledge this, that it's nothing is mine. End of the day, it's all connected. Influence,
Yes.
influence of something, reference, cross reference. It always continues. So that's
In
why if you
fact,
see that, yeah, sorry, I mean, he's wearing the costume is also not so kind of properly done and all these things, and the grandfather, who also represents the patriarchy, like, so much of ego.
Yes.
So the eyebrows are given the importance. Here,
Yes.
one lament I'll tell you in this book. I enjoyed design-wise Tiger much more, because that works in a design cohesion in a better way. Nepo could have been a better design book, but I feel that there are couple of shots which is in the original idea, like especially the grandfather's anger. That there is one fantastic shot. I think that's. But anyway, this is something behind the story, like that.
Yeah,
That you
we
know,
don't realize that when we have the book, we love the book for the way it is right now.
yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and not only the characters. So Nepo is one. I love the whole bouquet of characters that is it. The grandma is the dadi is wonderful out here, and in
Thank
fact,
you, thank you,
I
thank you.
love the detailing that is also goes behind this work. That you see the calendar behind there. We have a very cool image of a deity out there. So that's
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
In fact,
And what?
Shekhar,
Sorry.
I don't know if you, sorry, if you remember, we had discussed since we were discussing Ray, as you Shashwat brought up. We discussed for Tiger whether we want to make it a black and white book. Do you remember that stage? And the effect, the impact was stunning. It was a lot like Sahaj Path, uh,
Yeah,
but
I think maybe some other occasion I can show you the some background stories and sketches and scribbles of these two books. I always do for any project, and I keep on drawing and doodling, sketching, and again, of course, the influence of what I call it become a pedagogical sketchbook for me, because being with also design education, I tell my colleagues and students and young illustrators that it's there is no shortcut in the and you have to have love for it, because life is not easy anyway, so something I feel these occasions, these kind of books always give me some kind of breather, and then you wait for another occasion, another situation, and then so it's like if you see the all these books are outcome of three minimum 2.5 3 years or maybe a little more time of conversations, frustrations, hope, and all these things. Then eventually it comes out. And I think, as you rightly mentioned, Shashwat, that as it is, it created some kind of ripple across. That there are some different kind of books are available. So yeah.
True, true. And I'm just, finally, since we have both of you here, an author and an illustrator, I'd like to understand, in your case, Benita, I think so. It's a very unique, how would I say it, a unique process where you are completely, there's a whole level of trust between you two, and there's, great amount of respect and non-interference, right? But typically, how does you have worked with other writers? You have, Shekhar must have worked with other writers, and you have worked with other illustrators. How do you generally see this? How what is the sort of interdependency between each other to help to take the work higher? Benita, if you could go first.
all right, so I have been told time and time again that most publishers do not appreciate the fact that you come with a manuscript and you say that Shekhar will be, I mean, you, not Shekhar, but a particular illustrator will be illustrating it. So generally, I have not done that apart from these two books where I was very sure because we have been chatting. I mean, I'm not too much of a phone person, but Shekhar and I have, when Shekhar also had the time, we used to discuss a lot of issues around us. So, and then I've seen, see, his formative years in EP, I used to see how he would illustrate a feature story, Shashwat. I mean, you've been a journalist, so how much uh, animation or how much movement can you get to a features report? But he used to do that. So somewhere I knew that he could do it. So uh, apart from that, I don't think I have ever suggested an illustrator for any of my work. If a publisher asks me, do you know illustrators? I may tell them, okay, these are the names you can try. And then I leave it to them. It may be for my book, may not be for my book. So, my other books, I think everything, even, uh, I have not had any say. I don't want any say. But
Okay.
yes, there's a book in the wings, waiting. Shekhar, I would again love you to do it. It is on rural rights. It's not, it sounds very pompous and very dry, but Shashwat, there's generally a bit of humor in my stories, a bit of
Yes.
dry humor or whatever. So this also has that humor. Um, and again, there, I would love Shekhar to step in. I don't even know whether he will, but we also need a publisher. So,
Yeah, that will be fantastic. But I just want to tell you one last thing here from my side. The whole idea is I always look for that whenever we get hold of things are changing, definitely. We are becoming much more mature and open to different styles, experiment, break away from the stereotypes. I think whatever reason it is, and internet is opening another options and possibilities.
yes, yes,
So definitely the first impression of the tiger, if you think time permits, I like to show you. I got hold of that first sketch I sent to Benita, and that kind of work. Perhaps you need those kind of publishers. When we see in Franco-Belgian books, or when you see even Japanese, like how they come up with so many different things. So ours is still isolated in pockets. So national education program, if you genuinely look at it, it has tremendous possibilities, to get into even mathematics and biology and geography with lot more illustrative stuff, and not only one way book, it is also the textbook which can be outcome of more in an interactive manner, like your kid who will be part of the contribution into this book, because I think often what's happening even in design education, I'm experiencing that, always drawing my experience, if I have difficulties of reading text, what kind of book I should read if I want to be a mathematician or a chemist or a physicist, So these are the thoughts we are looking at it. If the whole world is responding to emojis as a quick communication, I think this is what I just like to show, and then you continue with your program. But if you allow me, I'll just share this one sketch.
please,
What I
please.
thought of the tiger. Yeah,
Please.
yeah. Thank you.
So there's a share, yes.
Yeah. Can you see this?
Just yes,
It's
here.
coming on.
Yeah. So this was a dry brush, immediate impression of after reading the poem. This was my first tiger, and then Benita told me that why not only with this, But anyway, maybe
Yes,
some other time, yeah, because we've seen Sahaj Part like the woodcut by Nandalal. We've seen even some of the great work done by many of the other artists and all. But what happened is it's kind of it always happened as a one hit wonder, but maybe we like to see as a perhaps little more regular affair. It gives confidence, and I tell everyone that every idea is good, every child is beautiful, and every drawing is beautiful. So this is when teaching, like unlearning the block, mind block.
yes.
So
That's
yeah,
the
yeah, I
that's
mean,
the
I just
period you called in Bagh Babaji. Do you remember that?
yeah,
You
yeah.
give him a name, Bagh
Bye, Roger.
Babaji.
Yeah, so I'll zip my mouth now. I'll zip. I won't talk. So thank you
No,
for
please, please. It's a
bringing me in.
chat.
No, no,
Please.
no. I know it's a chat, but I think continue. If it comes back, then I'll again talk. And that is why time and again, being with young students, I feel always excited. It's mentoring them, giving them confidence, and sometimes you see that, my God, they're so beautiful, like and the happiness comes when when you see they become better than you, and then I think we'll have a better society to live in. This is the age old belief we always cling on to. Yeah.
So just Shekhar, before we let you go, and I know you're pressed for time also. Just there's one question also that has come. How much of your childhood influences find themselves into the works that you do? Things like someone has asked about Tintin and other childhood influences and those kind of things. How much do they find, and how do you find topics which are very grim and dark, like climate change, global warming? How can visual artistry help and enable these kind of topics?
Uh, it's all depend on individual, I believe. It's kind of I see, I perceive, and I respond. So it is like it is always like that. So and then others respond. I mean, if you see on social media today that it gives a easy access to everyone to post their work, or photograph or drawing or image or video or joke or meme. and there are comments, reactions, actions, everything is going on. So it's a constant process, I believe, and I wish I am I'm a teenager today. Perhaps I could have, get a lot more opportunity of posting the stupid drawings in my school notebook, which I had to do it secretly because of fear of my teacher. So I think but influence always continues, and that is what I think it's important to have conversations, discussions, what we in short we call adda, and that you take it forward, the constructive adda, it's like constructive criticism, not like saying, oh, you're good for nothing, not like that, so yeah, so it's always influence is always work. And to me, Chaplin plays a major role. It comes back again and again. And some of the local stuff, of course, Gopi and Bhagavan, it's like one of the very strong impression it plays in my mind. And for me, that race, that Gopi and Bhagavan, I think 68 or 69, that to me, that is the first Indian animation. And it will always stay as Indian animation because it is, it is a childhood memory going to the theater. Of course, it's now in a post-corona, it is all like become fairy tale, so, but yes, that matters, it's kind of, you recall, and memory matters, it's listening to others matters, listening to your grandparents matter, recording them is matter. I think this is something, it's so, yeah, so it's a constant process. It's a
It's a
constant
constant. Yeah, I get your point. Okay. So thanks so much, Shekhar.
Thank you. It's
Thanks
a
so
pleasure.
much for,
Thank you, Shashwat. It's really a nice opportunity
yes,
to look back, so
yes, and sharing your inputs with us, and great visual. I see some thunderstorm going on behind you.
I think there's one here and one in Vijayawada.
yeah, it's raining heavily. Yeah.
Okay, so take care. Thank you so much for spending your
Thank
time
you,
with me.
Shekhar.
Yeah, coming to you, Benita. Now
Yeah.
let's take the whole process of writing. How do you go through this? The process. How do you get these books published? What are the sort of challenges that you face per se?
Okay, so I'm saying something about myself which I now read is not too good, but I'll confess anyway. I'm a workaholic, which is supposed to be something very wrong for your personal growth. I mean, I just get a high from working. Um, and so I get a bee in my bonnet. This is the fiction. The non-fiction stuff, the fact books, Shashwat, they have all been commissioned. I do not start a fact book series or fact books without somebody asking me to. I
Okay.
mean, and not for any reason except that it's just happened that way. So the fiction part, I get a bee in my bonnet, and then it buzzes around. I just have to write it down. Even the craft books, I mean, I've done, I think, four craft books. They're all on reusing. Of course, that's part of my frugal, thrifty upbringing and life. So buying stuff to turn into craft was never on the scene. We used stuff around us and we looked at it, I mean, what can I do with this pen? Okay, let's make it into whatever, you know. So if the pen is not writing anymore, I'm not going to throw it away. So that is how I've been doing the fiction and mm, the craft books. I must tell you, Shashwat, I've got a huge folder of unpublished fiction.
Okay.
Ideas come to me, I write them down, and then I don't know how to market them. Honestly, I don't know how to market them. That's been my biggest bugbear. I'm very, very grateful to one librarian and a book fanatic. She called me up one day and she contacted me. She said, look, I found your Facebook profile, but I'm not too sure if it's you because it's full of dogs and I mean, dogs for adoption, dogs who are injured. So I said, yeah, that's also very much a part of me. That's my environment. As I was telling you, we had this Indian Terrier dog, Julie, whom we adopted. She was with us for 6 years before she died of a heart attack. So that's my Facebook profile. So people don't find me apparently, but you did. I was very, very stunned. I remember asking you how you found me. So
Yes. So
Shashwat, that's how I work. The fiction part, a very different approach. Non-fiction, very different approach.
yeah, and so you have written you have been a copious writer with so many books that you have a whole range of books specifically, right from talking about civilization and history in the Smart Green Civilization series that you did, which by the way are a collector's edition right now. If I remember right, I saw one copy there on Amazon, which was someone was selling it for 90,000 rupees. So yeah,
One
so
book.
yeah, so yeah, so from spanning the whole spectrum of books that you've written.
This one?
Yes, yes, of course. These are the Indus Valley Civilization, of course. Yeah. So spanning the whole spectrum, you have been constant about one aspect is environment and nature. You have been talking about it through. What has been your personal learning, and how did you, as a person, become interested in this topic?
I've been brought up that way, Shashwat. I grew up in a very simple, humble home, which is not even a pakka house. I mean, a kind of a temporary structure, but it was surrounded by greenery, and my parents were magnets for injured, dying, almost dead animals of feathered furred kind. I mean, living in the heart of Calcutta. So I don't know how this happened, but we were constantly, oh, it's so painful, constantly I'd see a cat last stages dragging itself down the gully. How they knew, I don't know, that they had a safe haven there. um, I had a little friend in the bachra, the calf that would try and come through the gully and go, moo, and so that the narrow space would, sort of play up the moo, and the effect was, I mean, beautiful. So that's the way I've been brought up. I remember Calcutta in those days. We were on the fringes of what was then Kolkata, and on a winter night, there were jackals all around. On a winter night, you sort of huddled up under your razai, and then you could hear the jackals come and howl. It's if you've been through it, it's something that makes your hair stand on end, but it's not hair raising. It gives you the goosebumps in a very, I would say, in a very nice way. I'm not alone in this world. There are other species. In fact, a newspaper article I did for Indian Express soon after One Lonely Tiger 2019 World Environment Day was, are we going to be, do we really want to be the only species around? Not me, Shashwat, because I've grown up with. Uh, See, I'm not very brave. So, but even then, I'm terrified of cockroaches, and I'll go yow if I see, one flying in. But I do realize that we have to coexist somewhere. And the longer I live, the more I realize that I don't have much of a right, unless my life is completely at stake, in danger, to smash that other creature. I don't know if I have a right even then. I mean, I keep thinking, I overthink. People keep telling me you overthink and you over justify, but what else? I mean, books like The Secret Life of Plants, you read that and you're never the same again, Shashwat. So that's how I've been brought up. Then I married into the army. You get thrown into these little smaller places, comparatively smaller places. I remember going for long walks on the meadows, down the meadows of a place called Mao in Madhya Pradesh. And I would be alone because I'm an introvert. And I used to find snake slough, the snake discarded snake skin of cobras, and I would think I am not alone in the
Okay.
middle of this meadow, and if I tread on one, otherwise I know I'm safe. We respect each other's space and privacy. If I tread on one, then nobody will find me for hours, days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Uh,
So yeah, that reminds me of your experiences, and this is very interesting, and something that we have. I remember the first talk we had. We had an author, Usha Rajagopalan, who spoke about how animals were. Her home was literally the zoo. So, and that brings us to a very important point that nature. Within children, it's very important that at a very young age we are sensitized and we are exposed to nature in ways, and if done rightly at that end, it can last a lifetime, and that is something that we seem to be missing out in our current times.
Shashwat, you've hit it on the head. I'm a little worried about, all these groups that I'm a member of, parents talking about. What kind of netting should I put on my balcony because of, pigeon poop? I don't want the pigeon poop. Then somebody says it's extremely dangerous. I'm not denying that it could be, but somehow I've been cleaning my own home myself. I mean, the two of us have been cleaning for the past 15, 16 months uh, every day. So I know when I say pigeon poop can be cleaned, I mean, I don't know whether I'm advocating the right thing or not, but I don't want to put up meshing. Once we did that, and I learned from experience, Shashwat, the pigeon got caught in that. And fortunately, I heard it flutter, ran out, and then I cut the netting. After that, this was 15, 20 years ago, I just decided against trying to keep other species totally out.
Okay.
So, I grew up in this home where the tailor bird came and made a nest on an ixora. I remember when I was about 5 or 6, and my mother telling me, you can watch it from a distance. Think how many times you are bigger than the bird, the mother bird. You are not to go near and peep in. So when I see photographs of people taking, photographs of baby chicks and little nest photographs, I keep wondering what were you doing there, uh, you know. So yes, I'm very grateful to my parents for that kind of an upbringing.
Yes, and that's also very important. So you have also spoken about we spoke about your collaboration with illustrators and how wonderfully illustrated books you have. You have also touched upon. I remember in one of the conversations you were speaking about the role of editors that they play and how underrated they are when it comes to books. So I wanted your thoughts on that thing.
I think editors are hugely underrated, and where you, in fact, even in journalism, when I see, edited or subbed by so and so, I feel, yeah, you've given somebody because I'm a features journalist, I'm an editor. So, yes, we finally getting our due. My editors, when they write back to me, I hold my breath. What is she going to say? Because uh, um, her feedback matters a lot to me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So let me just do one thing. Let's share some of your book, and I just want to quickly show our viewers here some of the other works that you have done. So just adding that on screen. Yes. Yes.
This
This
is
is
from a
your
craft book, fabulous folk art, all with reused material. Indian. This is Indian folk art because I'm very rooted to uh, Indian handicraft.
yes, and this is yeah the Wali thing.
Worldly, yes, yes. And worldly is, I mean, look at the simplicity, but see how they can tell a story. How simplicity can create drama and tell a story. This is so visual.
True. And this is your book on green gardening that you had.
Yes.
Talking about ideas. So, what is the genesis of the book? If you can just quickly give us a.
So I'm a garden buff, and one of my favorite projects as a journalist was a gardening column. I mean, I've written about so many, the Salal Dam and all this serious stuff. Gardening is also serious to me. But my happiest column was for mint. the financial daily with on gardening, and I was so pleased with myself because I thought of the name Planters Club. Very Darjeeling, but very gardening also. Planters Club, and I used to get feedback mail from readers, which was so satisfying. Uh, Now, being a gardening buff who also tries to grow some vegetables wherever I am, whether it's a balcony or, we've lived in all sorts of houses, whether it is a garden on the ground floor. So we've tried to make do with what we have. Uh, so that was the genesis of this book.
Okay. So
There's nothing original, Shashwat. These are ideas I've also learned along life's way. Ideas I've put together. Okay, uh, whatever. There's nothing that is path-breakingly original about my craft books. It is just collating inspiration in one place, if I may say so.
and the illustration again there were very wonderful out there as usual.
You mean the gardening book?
Yes.
Vandana Bisht. So Vandy and I go back to our Target days. I started my children's writing with Target magazine, and Vandy did one of my earliest children's stories. It was called Moo Boo Zoo. I can't, I mean that's the way my brain works. So Moo Boo Zoo, Vandy did this really fun rendition. And then after one or two stories in Target, we hadn't worked together. Again, thanks to technology, Facebook, we bumped into each other. So, and then she saw one of my books and she said, "Hey, when are we going to work again together?"
Okay. And now let's come to your the this set of books which are there. As I said, the collector's edition, the Indus Valley. So if you
Yeah,
can, which are the other sets which are part of this civilization series?
I don't have all of them, and today I realize they are out of print. This is the story of my life, Shashwat. I don't have most of my books because I forget to put them aside. This is ancient China.
Okay.
Uh, so these books are not just me, I'm just the first step. Then they are vetted in house, they are vetted by experts before they go in for design and then publishing.
Okay. Ancient
Mesop-
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia, we've got the Americas, we've got Rome, we've got Greece and China.
Yeah. Smart
I
green. Wow, wonderful. So how much
well,
effort went about putting these books together? What if you can throw that?
yeah. Oh, I must give Terry its due. Terry, as in the publisher, Terry, its due. Although the heroine of the stories is also Terry, a girl called Terry. The idea came from Terry Press, and honestly, they said, how can you link environment and history uh, to show how smart or how much more green our ancient civilizations were? I really didn't have much of a clue. Honestly, I didn't know how to go about it. Then, the more you think, you sit and think. It's good for me to get that panic attack. I won't be able to do it. You get that adrenaline rush, and then, okay, um, fight or flight. I'm not going to run from here. I'm going to fight it out with the brief. And then you start reading and you realize that you go up higher and higher. For this series, I can't, ages 8 to 12 years old, I have done, I've been reading history and history books of, the master's classes. Uh, and then, as when I do fact books, Shashwat, one of my fact books, unknown to me some time ago, it's called Polar Creatures. It was commended by Ohio State University as quote unquote an excellent source of reference or something. So, when I do these, I always give the editor some extra material.
Okay.
So just as I respect the illustrators to do their interpretation, I respect the editors. They will take what they want. If they say I want 100 words, I have probably given them 120, 130. I tell them so they don't jump out of their skins when I submit the first spread. And then they might take something which I may have thought would go into an illustration and keep that in the main text. It's the editor's prerogative.
Okay, okay, very interesting. Also, speaking about your style of writing is it's very simple and lyrical, almost like that. So let me do one thing. Let me just have. Can you do us a small reading from your book, Nepo, possibly, or even for that matter,
All right. Yeah, let me look for Nepo. Okay. Stop me whenever you want to.
please.
Shashwat, what did Nepo do with a sari? What did Nepo do with a sari? Oh, kids love it, especially for the activity after that. You know, um, Dadu, my dear grandfather, often wore a frown above his clean white cotton shirt like a funny hairy crown. I don't recall him smiling, but we loved him all the same, though he never told us stories or joined in any game. One day, our neighbor Nepo came in and cleared his throat, not because he has a bad voice, but because he wanted to say something for that little attention. Tired and dusty from the farm and from tending his only goat, Dadi served him water. She fed him lots of sweets. But Nepo still looked worried as he wolfed down the eats. He went to Dadu, folded hands, his fingers rough and worn. May I have an old shirt, please? I noticed his was torn. Dadu loved his four white shirts, so he almost choked in shock. He lost his frown, he lost his words as if he'd turned to rock. So that is the start of Nepo. That's the family.
Yes, this. Yeah, that's how he starts on an adventure.
Yes, that's right. Of course, the family includes
So
Nengti Mouse and others. Sorry.
yeah. So coming back to practicalities, Depo, and so many books. Do you think how do you deal with issues like things like typical writers have this writer's block and seeking for creativity and all those kind of issues? How do you combat them?
I'll be very, very honest, Shashwat. I mean, because um writer's block has hit me. I don't know about others. It's hit me very often, even today. I keep saying Nepo, I can't surpass Nepo, and then I do Tiger. But writer's block is a reality for me. However, my reaction to writer's block has changed over the years. I used to feel extremely worried and low initially. Now, today, I know that perhaps someday, don't despair. Perhaps someday you come up with the next. So have faith, hang in there. Take a change. Sorry, take a change of place. Shashwat, some of my best ideas come to me either one when I'm falling asleep in that magical hour, so I have a notebook by my table, bedside table, and some of them, many more of them, while I am traveling. So in my bag, I'll have that little notebook, or on my phone. I still prefer that scribble, the physical scribble. So keep uh, noting down, and you might come to a one. See, as Shekhar said, 2010 we were discussing Tiger. which means I had written Tiger in 2009 perhaps, and it was published in 2019. So, it may take time, but hang in there. That's for me, you will get over writer's block in some way or the other. I think the connection is just a little. Hello?
Okay,
Yeah,
very interesting.
yeah.
And what are your, yeah, sorry, favorite? Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Hello.
Yes, now I
So I
can.
was just sorry for the glitch. So I was just wondering, what would you say are your favorite authors that you have read, or some of the favorite books that you would recommend to all people that they must read?
No recommendations. Just read, read, read. Follow your heart and read. Now, if you're going to, I still read a lot of Winnie the Pooh. I read a lot of folk tales from all over the world. Uh, and Nancy the Spider,
Okay.
our own folk tales. I've got this book of Tales from Bengal, which must be about 60, 70, 80 years old book. Very different language, very different idioms. Idiomatically also, it is very different. Uh, Issues that cannot be dealt with today. Yes, I think there's a slight glitch, I think.
Okay.
Shashwat, are you
So
there? Yeah.
can you see me now? Okay. So
Yes.
you have
Yeah.
finally talking about you have done so much of writing. You have done so much of writing on nature, and you've done so much of. How has it changed you as a person? The little that I know, you lead a very frugal lifestyle, and you do your gardening and all this. How has it affected you, and how has it changed you?
Uh, I don't know if it has changed me. That's the way we have been brought up. That's the way for me, this is the only lifestyle I know. I actually literally I live in my PJs, and especially since I work from home. There's nothing about working from home now because of COVID, but I have been doing this for 20 years now. So, mm, Shashwat, I don't see you there. Right. So I'll keep talking. I'll presume you are there.
Yes.
It's just been our lifestyle when frugal and thrift were happy words. They were jazzy words, and we lived that way. And I find it difficult to go and buy a new wardrobe unless I really, really need it. We still look for places where old clothes can be reused or recycled. Thankfully, some outlets had come up. I don't know what they are doing now with this current situation. So we would go and give them bags of old clothes. But I generally we live that life of sharing. And then try for a zero waste kitchen, which
Yes.
means today I posted on my Facebook. We got a little watermelon, 2 inches. That
Oh,
because yeah, it's growing. Last I spotted, it was 1.5 inches, and it's grown a little. It looks more like a watermelon now. It's grown from the seed I must have thrown out after eating the fruit. So we try and grow a few vegetables. It's not a huge place I have, but even when I'm living on the third floor, fourth floor, sixth floor, I've grown turai for these brilliant yellow flowers and for the fruit. Very selfish reasons, because I'm not going to spare. I'm not going to not eat the fruit. Then last year we must have planted pumpkin. I plant and then I forget, which is uh, it's true to many gardens. fanatics. And then I see this pumpkin plant crawling up, and of course, then you get so excited and you give it a little bit of leverage. You tie it up. I didn't get too many pumpkins that I could eat. They sort of died. I must have done lots of things wrong, but we ate a lot of the flowers. Uh, and the
Okay.
leaves. Hmm.
So yeah. So also finally coming to one, I think so we are almost running out of time. My final final thing I wanted to check with you is you have also done
Yes.
a lot of these taken part in these competitions like the Children Book Trust and everything, right? And
Hmm.
you've done these wonderful profiles of people. If you can just throw some light on the kind of people that you've interacted with and the kind of you know profiles that you've worked with.
So, my friends, thanks Shashwat for bringing this up. I don't know if Dr. Naveen Pandey, Prafulla Ju, that's Wing Commander Prafulla Rao, Dr. AJP John Singh, I don't know, he's not too well, he wrote to me. If y'all are a part of the discussion, I wish I could bring y'all front end. So, a lot of my, Pradeep Patade, uh, I seem to have a lot of Muhammad Dilawar, where are you, friend? The Sparrowman of India. So many of my friends are extremely um, sincere in they are the green people in whatever they are doing. And they introduce me to yet more such people who are doing. Colonel Ashwin Bendur, Painted Stock Nature Club. I'm a proud member. Although most of the members there are from another century, they are children, most of them. So uh, these are the people who have taught me that I mean, if I'm fascinated by them, I'm sure some readers will be. So I love to profile them, but sadly, Shashwat, there are not too many takers. I'm waiting to do a book on these profiles of people like them. I've told you about how Pradeep Patade is involved in the marine life of Mumbai. You know, Dr. Naveen Pandey is Deputy Director of the Corbett Foundation. He's in Kaziranga, but I first saw him in Kalimpong, where he and his little band of devoted uh, people from the Darjeeling Goodwill Animal Shelter. They changed the profile of a very bad rabies attack in 1 year by vaccinating all the dogs. I've seen them slide downhill to catch a dog, and just to vaccinate. I mean, not to catch the dog and drag it anyway, vaccinate it on spot. Uh, all these amazing people, how can I not be in awe of them? How can I, of the work they do? I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. Dr. John Singh, what discussions we've had on the goal and on his research and his career. I come out very, very strong. Um, one of my teachers is young Abhirup Chatterjee. All of 20 years old, Pandit Abhirup Chatterjee, he is constantly teaching me, you know, and correcting me, updating me. Of course, we also share dog cat videos and things like that. But apart from that, serious stuff I learned from such friends. It's a blessing to be surrounded by these people, Shashwat.
Okay, so finally, if I were to take your final advice to would-be writers and whosoever is watching that and wanting to write on this, what would that advice be?
No advice. I don't think I have. I mean, I'm not qualified to give any advice. I could only share my experience, and this is it. I follow my heart. I'm very impractical, so you have to choose which way you will be. I mean, my marketing has been dismal. I'm very taken aback when someone finds me, when an editor says, "Oh, yeah, we know you." And I really go, "You know that." I said the same to you. So, what advice from me? It's just if my experience can help anybody, great. I
I'm
never
sure it.
know where to send a book. Where do I send the next manuscript? I just don't know.
No. I'm sure people can draw a lot of inspiration from the sheer volume of work that you've done, and the varied nature of your work, and your books, whatever they are available on. It sometimes becomes a challenge at times, but yes, whatever they are, they're amazingly rich in terms of the knowledge that they bring to fore. The visually rich, very interesting, and at the end, it's a very beautiful story that is being told. So that really is something magical about the books that come out from your end.
Thank you so much. I'm so humbled because writing is a very personal experience. I've told a lot of children who want to be writers, don't think that this one web discussion is the story of my life. No, 99% is spent alone, researching, coming up with ideas. It is a lonely furrow you plow. Uh, so be prepared for that.
To yeah, the long haul, the discipline, and the hard work that goes along with it. So with that, I would like to really thank you for your time that you spent with us. I wish Shekhar was here as well, and the numerous people who are watching the show. I apologize for the technical glitches. There's some thunderstorm also happening at our end also. So besides that, thank you so much for joining us, and wonderful having you here. Catch you in the next edition of Nature Writing for Children. Thank you, Benita.
Thank you, Shashwat. Thank you to all at Azim Premji University, and thank you to everybody here who's shared their precious time to hear us out.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.